Hey guys, welcome back to the episode of ZX Ignition. This is my first impressions of this series, and I kind of just watched it because it was on Crunchyroll's, and I saw it and it was just like, what is this about? What, is the premise, and am I going to like it or not? And so, what is this series about? ZX Ignition is about a kind of an invasion of the real world by monsters. So monsters have come into the real world through a black sphere called a gate and have invaded the world and have taken it over in some way. The thing is, there's a little bit of a discrepancy, as in we're missing information linking what happened in the beginning, a prologue, the first 5 minutes, and what happened in the series, the rest of this episode. And the discrepancy is, in the beginning, it shows us that the monsters are killing all the humans and basically annihilating all of humankind. We see Paris, we see Washington, we see other famous places in the earth, cities being basically turned into apocalyptic ruins. So after seeing that, I thought the rest of the series was going to be like about how to survive in a post-apocalyptic monster world, and we didn't get that. What we ended up with people controlling monsters fighting each other, and that was very weird to me. I don't. We definitely missed some extra information there. What happened in between? So yes, and apparently each monster that's come out of the gates. There's several gates in the world, and each monster comes from a different colored world. There's a red world, there's a white world, there's a black world, and I'm assuming there's more colors of the rainbow in this series somewhere. And so each monster, which corresponds to its own world, has a unique theme to it. So it kind of seems that green is samurai, black is kind of dark, gothic-ish creatures, white is of course heavenly creatures, and so we kind of get this kind of theme of different types of worlds and the themes of the monsters behind them. We also know that each monster corresponds to some sort of mythical creature in history. In terms of, the heavenly creatures, the angels are all named after the biblical angels, and we also get the green creatures, which are apparently working together, are conquering heroes of some sort. And it also is interesting that they also list them off of a historical list, because when they introduced Alexander the Great, they had listed Alexander the Great below his name. They had subtitled of the Nine Worthies. And if you know anything about history, the Nine Worthies was a title given to medieval knights, not medieval knights, but given to chivalrous warriors of history. So you have you have conquering heroes, Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, and then you also have knights such as Arthur, King Arthur, and oh gosh, what was his name? The Crusader who had conquered Jerusalem. I forget his name now, but he was also included in part of that list as well. And so you have, basically, it looks like they're drawing from separate histories, separate mythical creatures from history, historical texts, and they're using that as a kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! / Pokemon theme, because each creature is captured, apparently, and summoned using a card. And how their order or whatnot seems to be somewhat like Fate Stay Night, in where you have a master and you have a servant, and the servant in this case is a monster that obeys and speaks to whoever is holding the card. We're not really sure how that works at the moment, but we know that having a card allows you to capture and control these creatures in some way. And so at this point in the story, basically humanity has somehow come back together. Either that Japan had somehow escaped the destruction of the world, or somehow that this whole place had just rebuilt itself up. The monsters had taken over, and then suddenly they had the humans had learned how to control them, and now they're back to normal modern world. The buildings are all there. There's nothing destroyed, and it looks like basically the only difference is now we have monsters vying for control of separate zones or cities in this, now changed Earth. So it's more like an alternate Earth, not a apocalyptic Earth as it made out to seem in the beginning. Or that could just be a very vague discrepancy. They might explain it later what happened, but at this point there is no connection between the two, and you're just left a little bit confused. As for like this series itself, we can kind of see where this series is catering towards. We can see the audience. The audience for this series is as we can guess, for kids around maybe 10 to 15, the middle-aged to high school kids. Because this series itself, even though it kind of seemed a little bit, chunky at times, you could see where the intended audience was. It's not deep at all. The story itself is not complex. It doesn't really connect itself that well. There's big explosions. I mean, the characters themselves are not really even explained. They're just introduced one after another, and you just get a sense that they're just tossed in there for flavor. And that's about it. So this series so far, my impressions of it is that it is catered towards children, and that it is trying to do some sort of a Fate-Stay Night approach where you have mythical creatures summoned by masters, mages, or some sort of special human kind of person. And that is the direction of this entire series as of right now. Now, as for the actual story as to what happened in this episode, I mean, not to spoil too much, but it was pretty straightforward. It was just a list of fights. It was just a row of fights back to back about different things, and we also get to see a little bit of the main character and his background. That is basically all that happened in the first episode. Not really anything that popped at you, that would surprise you and say, oh, this is new, this hasn't been done before. It has all been kind of done before, and we've all seen a lot of these cliches. We have the aloof main character. We have a very naive girl next to him who's probably going to be a love interest, but at the moment she just works at the same, like he works at a restaurant, so she works at the same restaurant as a waitress, along with him who is a waiter. And so it's nothing too out there of the ordinary. The fights itself were okay and not that, amazing. So, ZX Ignition, that's what it is so far. That's what it is so far, as I could see so far. Is it gonna get better? Is it gonna change into something that is a lot more unique in its own way, and be able to build up on this storyline that is created? Probably not. I usually don't judge a series by its first episode, but the way it has presented itself so far right now is making me really think that this is series. What you get in the first episode is what you're gonna get for the rest of this series. And what we're probably gonna get is maybe there's gonna be one or two very serious moments in this anime, but at the most part, it's gonna be lighthearted. It's gonna be fight that might not make too much sense, might not even really be explained, but it's not gonna be like Strike the Blood, where you have people getting decapitated. I'm pretty sure there's not going to be that amount of blood in it. It's just going to be a lighthearted shonen anime with a lot of the mythical creatures, part of history, just to add flavor and text to it. So that's what I believe is going to happen, and we'll see. I mean, we'll see. It could really surprise me and change, maybe halfway, or maybe like as we get on. I have a 5-episode anime rule. So in 5 episodes, usually in an anime, I give it, it will have at least one or maybe 2 moments in the 5 episodes that I've watched that will grab at me, that will hook me on and tell me that, hey, this series has something special, has something unique about it. And I'm not seeing that from ZX Ignition at the moment. It's kind of just pieced together little bits of good parts from other series. The cards from Yu-Gi-Oh, the monsters and master system, kind of like Fate Stay Night. And so that's the kind of route it's going. And it's kind of added this apocalyptic route with it as well, but it hadn't really fully fleshed it out. It was kind of just a backstory that didn't even get the attention it deserved in the first episode. Kind of just brushed aside casually, as in just letting you know this is why there's monsters in the world, you know, and yeah. So, anyway, episode 2, here we go. I will see if it changes or not. Like I said, 5 episodes. I'll give 5 episodes. And, I mean, I'll continue it anyway if you guys want me to. But at this moment, it seems very, very par. It seems like you're very much average anime. Nothing that's going to blow your mind completely. But at the same time, I mean, you can never judge a book by its cover. Alright, so episode 2. Here we go.